Welcome back. Imagine this. Someone who once adored you, who couldn't go a day without texting you, calling you, or seeking your attention, suddenly feels distant. The excitement in their eyes has faded, and now you're left wondering what went wrong. Did you make a mistake? Is it too late to fix this? Here's the brutal truth. Most people react the wrong way. They panic, they chase, they overthink, and in the process they sabotage the very thing they're trying to save. But what if I told you that re-attracting someone isn't about chasing them? It's about shifting your mindset, your energy, and your strategy. You see, attraction isn't lost. It's simply misplaced. The way to bring it back isn't through desperate efforts to win them over. It's by realigning your energy so that they feel drawn to you once again, naturally, effortlessly, irresistibly. This is where Stoicism comes in. The ancient Stoics understood that power doesn't come from trying to control external events, but from mastering yourself, and that includes your relationships. When you learn how to control your emotions, reclaim your power, and cultivate an aura of confidence, you become magnetic, not just to the person who lost interest, but to everyone around you. In this video, we're breaking it all down. You're about to learn 7 powerful principles rooted in psychology, attraction, and Stoic relationships that will help you spark curiosity, rekindle lost emotions, and make them crave your presence more than ever. And here's the best part. By the end of this video, you won't just understand how to make them interested in you again. You'll have the tools to become the kind of person that people can't ignore. The kind of person who doesn't need to chase because others will naturally be drawn to you. So are you ready? Let's dive in. 1. The power of detachment. When someone starts to lose interest in you, the natural instinct is to hold on tighter. You may feel an overwhelming urge to do something, send a message, remind them of the good times, prove your worth, or even apologize for things you don't understand. The fear of losing them becomes suffocating, and that fear drives you to act impulsively. But here's the paradox. The more you chase, the further they withdraw. It's not because they are cruel or playing games. It's because desperation is the most unattractive energy you can bring into a relationship. People don't respond well to pressure. They respond to confidence, to self-sufficiency, to an energy that feels whole with or without them. That's why detachment is one of the most powerful forces in attraction. And if you master it, you will not only shift the dynamic, you will shift your entire life. But let's be clear, detachment does not mean you stop caring. It does not mean you become emotionless or pretend that you don't value the relationship. Detachment is about emotional strength. It is about removing the need for external validation and reclaiming your inner stability. When your happiness and self-worth no longer depend on how someone else treats you, you instantly become more attractive. This is because attraction, at its core, is about energy. When someone feels like they are the center of your emotional world, the balance shifts. You become dependent, and they begin to feel burdened. But when you stand firm in yourself, when your life, your passions, and your purpose do not revolve around their attention, you create an energy that is magnetic. They sense that you are not desperately clinging to them, and that makes them wonder about you. Think about it. Who do people naturally gravitate towards? Is it the person who is constantly seeking reassurance, needing validation, and reacting to every shift in behavior? Or is it the person who is composed, who knows their worth, who is at peace with or without the attention of others? The answer is obvious. People are drawn to confidence. They are drawn to those who exude a quiet strength, to those who are not seeking permission to feel worthy. This is the foundation of attraction, not looks, not words, not even history, but energy. If your energy is desperate, fearful, or needy, it pushes people away. But if your energy is grounded, self-sufficient, and emotionally whole, it pulls people in. The problem is that most people have been conditioned to believe that The solution to losing someone's interest is doing more. More texting, more calling, more proving, more compromising. But real power comes not from doing more, but from doing less, from stepping back, from letting go, from allowing things to unfold without force. This is the essence of Stoicism, the ability to control yourself rather than trying to control someone else. The Stoics understood that attachment to external outcomes is the root of suffering. When your happiness is dependent on whether or not someone texts you back, whether or not they give you attention, you become a prisoner to something you cannot control. And what does that do? It makes you anxious. It makes you reactive. It makes you lose the very self-possession that once made you attractive in the first place. So what's the solution? It starts with a simple but profound shift in mindset. You are not here to be chosen. You are here to choose. The moment you stop seeking validation from someone else is the moment they start to feel your absence. And that absence creates value. When someone knows you are always there, always available, always waiting, they take you for granted. It's human nature. People don't value what they assume they will always have. But the moment they sense that you are unshaken, that you are living your life, that you are not waiting, they start to feel something unexpected. They start to wonder. They start to miss you. And most importantly, they start to respect you in a way they didn't before. Now, you might be wondering, how do I detach? How do I stop feeling so consumed by the thought of losing them? The first step is self-awareness. Every time you feel the urge to reach out just to get reassurance, pause. Ask yourself, am I acting from strength or from fear? If it's from fear, don't act. Redirect that energy inward. The second step is reinvesting in yourself. Shift your focus. Instead of obsessing over their behavior, obsess over your own growth. Work on your fitness, your career, your mindset. Find things that genuinely excite you outside of this person. The more engaged you are in your own life, the less power their absence will have over you. The third step is embracing uncertainty. The truth is, you can't control whether someone stays or goes, but you can control how you show up in your own life. You can control whether you let their distance destroy your sense of self, or whether you use it as a chance to reclaim your power. Detachment is not about playing games or pretending to be indifferent. It is about genuine self-sufficiency, a deep, unshakable understanding that your worth does not depend on whether or not someone chooses you. And here's the irony. The moment you embody this, people start to chase you. Why? Because now they are the ones feeling the void. They are the ones wondering what changed. They are the ones realizing that they may have underestimated your value. But by the time they realize it, you will no longer be in a position of need. You will have already built yourself into someone so whole, so powerful, so magnetic, that their interest is no longer your main concern. That is when true attraction is restored. Not because you tried to force it, but because you became someone who cannot be ignored. So now ask yourself, are you ready to stop chasing? Are you ready to detach, not to manipulate, but to regain your own power? Because the moment you do, everything changes. When you shift your focus from them to you, when you become the source of your own fulfillment, you will not only re-attract those who lost interest, you will attract an entirely new level of respect, admiration, and desire. And the best part? It will all come naturally, because it will be built on something real, yourself. 2. Focus on personal growth. One of the biggest mistakes people make when trying to re-attract someone who has lost interest is focusing too much on the other person and too little on themselves. They analyze every interaction, every word, every silence. They try to decode the hidden meaning behind delayed texts and unanswered calls. But here's the hard truth. Obsessing over someone else never leads to attraction. It leads to frustration, anxiety, and a sense of powerlessness. Because the more you fixate on what they're thinking, the more you neglect the only thing that truly matters, your own growth. Let's be honest, would you be more drawn to someone who is constantly seeking your approval or to someone who is focused on becoming the best version of themselves? The answer is obvious. People are naturally attracted to strength, ambition, and self-improvement. This is why shifting your focus inward is one of the most powerful ways to re-attract someone. When you stop making them the center of your world and start making your own growth your priority, something interesting happens. They begin to feel your absence. They start to notice the changes in you. And suddenly, their perception of you shifts from someone who needs my validation to someone I might be missing out on. But let's be clear, personal growth isn't about trying to impress them. It's about genuinely becoming better for yourself. If your motivation to improve is solely based on winning someone back, you will never sustain it. But if your motivation is to become stronger, happier, and more fulfilled, regardless of what happens with them, you tap into something far more powerful, authentic self-transformation. This is where the philosophy of Stoicism becomes invaluable. The Stoics believed in focusing only on what you can control. You can't control whether someone finds you interesting or not, but you can control how much effort you put into your personal development. You can control your health, your mindset, your skills, and your ability to cultivate a life that excites you. The moment you take ownership of these things, you become undeniably attractive. Think about it. If you met the future version of yourself 5 years from now, would you be impressed? Would you see someone who has grown, who has mastered their emotions, who has pursued their ambitions without fear? Or would you see someone who has stayed stagnant, waiting for someone else to define their worth? The choice is yours. And here's the truth. Every time you focus on your growth instead of chasing someone else's attention, you win. You win in confidence. You win in self-respect. And whether or not they come back, you will have become someone who no longer needs their approval to feel worthy. So, how do you actually start focusing on your personal growth? First, challenge yourself physically. Go to the gym, start running, take up a sport, do something that pushes your body beyond its comfort zone. When you build physical discipline, you naturally develop mental discipline. And discipline is one of the most attractive qualities a person can have. Second, expand your mind. Read books, learn new skills, start a project that excites you. When was the last time you learned something that truly challenged you? People who continuously evolve are always more interesting than those who stay the same. Third, elevate your standards. Stop tolerating half-hearted effort from others. When you hold yourself to a higher standard, people have no choice but to either rise to meet you or fall away. Either way, you win. And here's the best part. When you fully embrace this mindset, when you start thriving on your own, something powerful happens. The person who lost interest in you starts noticing. They start seeing you differently. You're no longer just someone they used to know. You're someone who is becoming something greater. And that realization creates curiosity, admiration, and yes, attraction. Because people don't chase what's stagnant. They chase what's moving forward. So if you've been stuck wondering how to make them want you again, stop asking that question. Instead, ask yourself, how can I become so magnetic, so driven, so undeniably confident that they can't help but notice? That is the mindset that changes everything. And that is why focusing on your growth, not theirs, is the key to re-attracting someone without even trying. If you're ready to shift your energy from waiting to thriving, like this video and comment number 1 below. And if you're serious about mastering not just attraction, but your own power, subscribe for more. Insights on Stoicism, self-improvement, and relationships. The journey to becoming your best self starts now. 3. Maintain high standards and boundaries. One of the greatest mistakes people make when someone pulls away is lowering their standards in the hope that being more accommodating will bring them back. They start accepting behaviors they once found unacceptable. They make excuses for inconsistency. They tolerate being treated as an option instead of a priority. Why? Because they believe that if they give more, they will be appreciated more. But this thinking is deeply flawed. The more you compromise your standards, the less attractive you become. Not only does the other person lose respect for you, but you also lose respect for yourself. And nothing destroys attraction faster than self-betrayal. When you allow someone to take you for granted, you teach them that you will always be there no matter how they treat you. And once someone knows they can come and go from your life without consequence, they no longer feel the need to put in effort. Attraction fades, interest disappears, and you are left wondering what went wrong when, in reality, the problem was never their behavior. It was your lack of boundaries. The ability to set and uphold boundaries is one of the most powerful indicators of self-worth. If you do not respect your own time, your own emotions, and your own value, why would anyone else? This is where Stoicism provides immense clarity. The Stoics believed that true power lies in self-mastery, in knowing what you will and will not accept, and in having the discipline to enforce it. The moment you stop seeking validation from others and start living by your own principles, you immediately command more respect. You become someone who does not need attention to feel worthy, and that energy is compelling. But here's the challenge. Holding boundaries is not easy. It requires you to be willing to walk away when someone fails to meet your standards. It demands emotional strength, the ability to say, "I deserve better," even when you want to stay. And this is where most people fail. They fear that by enforcing boundaries, they will push the other person further away. They worry that if they refuse to tolerate inconsistency, they will lose them completely. But the truth is, if holding someone to a higher standard makes them leave, they were never truly invested in the first place. The key to maintaining boundaries is understanding that they are not punishments. They are filters. They separate those who genuinely value you from those who only stay when it's convenient. Every time you enforce a boundary, you send a clear message. I am not desperate for your attention. I'm not afraid of losing you. I will not accept less than I deserve. And this shifts the power dynamic completely. Instead of you chasing them, they now have to rise to meet your standards. And this change in energy is often the catalyst that reignites attraction. But what does this look like in real life? It means refusing to engage with someone who only reaches out when it's convenient for them. It means not tolerating mixed signals or emotional inconsistency. It means making it clear through your actions, not just your words, that you will not settle for half-hearted effort. If someone disappears for days and then suddenly acts like nothing happened, you do not reward that behavior with enthusiasm. You match their energy. If they are inconsistent, you become unavailable. If they are disrespectful, you remove access to you, not out of spite, but out of self-respect. The mistake most people make is thinking that maintaining boundaries will make them seem difficult or too much work. But in reality, high standards do not push the right people away. They push the wrong people away. Someone who truly values you will respect your boundaries, not resent them. And if someone pulls away because you require respect, effort, and consistency, let them go. Their departure is not a loss, it is a lesson. Because the moment you start valuing yourself, you stop entertaining anything less than what you truly deserve. The paradox of attraction is this: the moment you become willing to walk away from someone who does not meet your standards, you increase your value in their eyes. When they realize you are not easily swayed, that you do not beg for attention, that you will not compromise your self-worth for their temporary validation, they begin to respect you more. And respect is the foundation of lasting attraction. But this is not just about relationships. Learning to maintain high standards applies to every area of your life. It is about the way you treat yourself, the way you allow others to treat you, and the level of discipline you bring to everything you do. When you hold yourself to a higher standard, you attract better friendships, better opportunities, and better experiences. People see you as someone of value, someone who is selective, someone who does not settle, and that makes you irresistible. So if you are struggling with someone losing interest, ask yourself, have I lowered my standards in the hope of keeping them? Have I tolerated behavior I once would not have accepted? Have I betrayed my own boundaries just to maintain their presence in my life? If the answer is yes, then it is time to shift your focus. Instead of trying to make them want you, make yourself someone who will not settle for less than full effort. Instead of worrying about their interest in you, start prioritizing your own interest in yourself. This is not easy. It requires strength. It requires patience. But the moment you decide to stop compromising and start choosing yourself, everything changes. Not only will you naturally re-attract those who took you for granted, but you will also position yourself as someone who demands respect. And in the end, that is what truly matters. Not temporary attention, but genuine value. 4. Master the mystery effect. Attraction is not about logic. It is about emotion and curiosity. When someone loses interest, one of the biggest reasons is that the excitement, the mystery, and the feeling of intrigue have faded. The dynamic has become predictable. They already know what you are going to say, how you will react, and that you will always be there waiting. The moment someone feels like they have fully figured you out, their mind naturally starts to wander elsewhere. They no longer feel that pull, that curiosity, that sense of what's next. This is why mystery is one of the most powerful forces in attraction. The less someone knows about you, the more they want to find out. And the more they want to find out, the more invested they become. But let's be clear, mystery is not about playing games, being manipulative, or acting cold for no reason. It is about creating space in a way that naturally builds intrigue. Think about the early stages of attraction. What makes someone exciting? It's not just their looks, their charm, or their words. It's the unknown. The way they carry themselves, the way they keep you guessing, the way they seem like they have an entire world inside them that you have only begun to explore. This is why people are drawn to those who don't reveal everything at once. When you leave gaps in a story, the mind naturally fills them in with curiosity. When you hold back just enough, people start leaning in, wanting more. The problem is that most people destroy mystery the moment they feel someone pulling away. They overshare in an attempt to prove their worth. They over-explain their emotions. They try to explain why they are a good partner, why they should be chosen, why they deserve attention. But this does the opposite of what they intend. It makes them seem too available, too predictable, too easy to figure out. And when something becomes too easy to understand, it loses its excitement. Instead of inspiring curiosity, it inspires boredom. This is why embracing mystery is key to Stoic relationships. The Stoics understood that power lies in restraint, in not always revealing everything, in allowing silence to create tension, in understanding that attraction is not built through words alone, but through presence, energy, and unspoken intrigue. The way you carry yourself, the way you hold back just enough, the way you create space for others to wonder, this is what pulls people in. So how do you cultivate mystery in a way that naturally reawakens attraction? First, become less predictable. If they are used to you always responding instantly, start taking your time. If they are used to knowing your every move, start introducing unpredictability into your life. Not out of manipulation, but because you are genuinely creating a life so full that they cannot assume they already know everything about you. Second, Say less than you feel. Let them wonder. Instead of explaining your emotions in detail, let your actions speak louder. Instead of always being available to talk, create space. People don't remember everything you say, but they do remember how they felt, not knowing. That feeling of, why aren't they replying yet? What are they up to? Why does it feel like I don't fully understand them anymore? That feeling is what makes someone think about you. The mistake most people make is believing that in order to keep someone interested, they need to give more attention, more access, more effort. But true attraction is often built through less availability, less predictability, less over-explaining. When someone feels like there is always something new to discover about you, they stay intrigued, they stay engaged, they stay hooked. Think about the people who have left the strongest impact on your life. Were they the ones who were completely predictable? The ones who made themselves an open book from the start? Or were they the ones who had layers, depth, things that took time to uncover? The most unforgettable people are those who are not easily figured out. They have a sense of self-containment, an aura that makes you feel like there is always more beneath the surface. This is what you must cultivate, not for the sake of manipulation, but because this is what naturally creates attraction. But here's the challenge. Most people fear creating space. They fear that if they don't always reply immediately, if they don't always explain themselves, if they don't always fill the silence, the other person will lose interest completely. But the opposite is true. When you remove some of the constant availability, when you introduce a little uncertainty, you create a natural pull. People start thinking about you in a way they didn't before. They start noticing your absence. They start feeling like they might not fully have you, and that creates value. So if you feel like someone is losing interest, ask yourself, have I become too predictable? Have I given too much access too soon? Have I eliminated the very sense of curiosity that once made me intriguing? If the answer is yes, it's time to change your approach. Instead of giving everything at once, give them something to wonder about. Instead of over-explaining, let your silence create tension. Instead of always being the one to reach out first, let them feel what it's like when you don't. Because the moment someone feels like they are at risk of losing something valuable, their mindset shifts. They begin to chase. They begin to miss. And most importantly, they begin to see you differently. If you're starting to see the power of mystery, like this video and comment number 1 below. And if you're ready to take your understanding of stoicism and attraction to the next level, subscribe for more deep insights into mastering relationships, mindset, and personal power. Because when you learn to embody mystery, when you learn to make people feel something without always saying something, you don't just re-attract the one who lost interest. You become the kind of person that people cannot ignore. 5. Rekindle their emotions, not just their attention. Attraction is not built on logic, it is built on emotion. When someone loses interest, it's not because they suddenly decided you are no longer attractive or valuable. It's because they no longer feel the same emotions when they think about you. People don't stay connected because of rational reasons. They stay because of how someone makes them feel. And if those emotions fade, their interest fades too. This is why trying to convince someone to like you again never works. Words alone don't reignite attraction. What does? Bringing back the feelings that made them drawn to you in the first place. The problem is that most people react to fading interest by panicking. They try harder, they overcompensate, they become overly available, overly apologetic, overly eager to fix things. But this does not create attraction, it creates pressure, and pressure suffocates emotions. Rather than reviving them, instead of reminding the other person why they enjoyed being around you, it reminds them of why they wanted space in the first place. Instead of making them feel something new, it reinforces the feeling that something is missing. To rekindle attraction, you must first understand what made them feel drawn to you in the beginning. What was it about your presence that created excitement, curiosity, and emotional highs? What did they associate you with? Was it laughter, adventure, playfulness, deep conversations, or shared experiences? Because whatever those things were, they have likely faded. Not because you changed, but because your energy changed. The version of you that first caught their attention was probably confident, relaxed, engaging, and unpredictable. But when attraction starts slipping, people often become the opposite. Needy, anxious, over-explaining, trying to force interactions instead of letting them flow. This is why rekindling emotions is not about reminding them of you. It's about reminding them of how they felt with you. And that requires a shift in approach. First, stop trying to fix things with words. If they have lost interest, logical conversations about the relationship will not change their emotions. Attraction is not a debate. It's an experience. Instead of telling them what they should feel, create moments that make them feel something again. Nostalgia is one of the most powerful tools for rekindling attraction. People associate emotions with memories, and when you subtly remind someone of the best moments they shared with you, their subconscious mind relives those emotions. This does not mean you should directly bring up the past in a desperate way. Instead, recreate the energy of those moments. If humor was a strong part of your connection, bring that lightness back. If deep conversations made them feel connected to you, create opportunities for that depth again. If adventure was what made things exciting, introduce new experiences rather than staying in routine patterns. Another way to trigger emotional reconnection is through playfulness. One of the reasons attraction fades is that relationships shift from being exciting to serious. What starts as fun, effortless interaction turns into obligation, pressure, and expectation. And nothing kills attraction faster than feeling like every interaction is a negotiation rather than an enjoyable experience. People are drawn to those who make them feel alive. If your energy has been heavy, if your interactions have been centered around overanalyzing what went wrong, it's time to shift. Instead of asking, "What can I do to make them like me again?" ask, "How can I make them enjoy talking to me again?" Instead of making every interaction about the relationship, focus on bringing back the energy that made them want to be around you in the first place. Attraction is emotional, not logical, and that means body language, tone, and energy matter. More than words. You can say all the right things, but if your energy feels needy, insecure, or overly intense, they will feel that something is off. On the other hand, if you speak less, but carry yourself with ease, confidence, and lightness, they will naturally feel a shift. People mirror emotions. If you bring tension, they feel tension. If you bring lightness, they feel lightness. If you are always available, always over-explaining, always chasing, they sense the imbalance, even if they can't explain why they feel different about you. Another powerful way to reignite emotions is by using distance wisely. Absence makes people remember, but only when used correctly. Disappearing completely out of bitterness will not make someone want you more. It will only confirm to them that they made the right decision in pulling away. But creating space while maintaining a strong presence in your own life makes them wonder. When someone feels like they are at risk of losing something valuable, they suddenly begin to reassess its worth. If you have been constantly available, responding instantly, and making it clear that they can have you whenever they choose, they have no reason to feel urgency. But when you step back, not in anger, not in fear, but in self-assurance, they start noticing. They start thinking about you in moments they didn't expect. They start realizing that they might have taken your presence for granted. It is important to understand that rekindling emotions is not about manipulation. It is not about making someone feel a certain way against their will. It is about reconnecting them with the version of you that first drew them in. It is about removing the pressure and bringing back the enjoyment. It is about stopping the chase and allowing them to feel the contrast between your absence and your presence. When someone begins to feel that contrast, when they feel the energy shift, when they experience the difference between being around you and not being around you, that is when emotions begin to resurface. Most people think that the way to bring back attraction is to talk about it, to explain, to convince, to overanalyze. But attraction is not logical. People don't decide to be drawn to someone because it makes sense. They are drawn to how they feel. And the moment you shift your focus from trying to win them back to becoming the person who naturally draws them in again, everything changes. The moment you stop reacting to their loss of interest and start creating an energy that is undeniable, they begin to feel the difference. They begin to feel something new, or rather, something familiar that they hadn't felt in a while. This is why rekindling attraction is not about working harder to prove yourself. It's about removing the weight of desperation and bringing back the ease, the unpredictability, and the depth that made you captivating in the first place. When you stop needing someone's validation and start embodying the emotions that naturally create attraction, people feel it. They don't just notice your absence. They begin to miss what it felt like to be around you. They begin to crave the energy that once made them drawn to you. And when that happens, attraction is no longer something you have to chase. It becomes something they naturally gravitate toward. 6. Shift the energy dynamic. One of the most overlooked but most powerful shifts you can make when someone loses interest is changing the energy dynamic between you. Attraction is not just about looks, words, or history. It is about perceived value and emotional impact. People are drawn to those who make them feel something, who hold their own presence, and who do not crumble at the first sign of distance. But when attraction fades, most people do the exact opposite of what they should do. Instead of maintaining their power, they give it away. They chase, they overcompensate. They make the other person the center of their emotions, unknowingly reinforcing the very energy that caused the attraction to fade in the first place. But what if you could reverse that dynamic? What if, instead of being the one feeling the loss, you became the one they started thinking about, the one they started feeling pulled toward again? This is what happens when you shift the energy dynamic, and it all starts with one thing: letting go of the need for their approval. People can sense when someone's emotions are dependent on them. It is not something they consciously analyze. It is something they feel. When you put someone on a pedestal, when your mood fluctuates based on their actions, they feel it. And when someone feels like they have more emotional control over you than you have over yourself, their attraction drops. Why? Because people are drawn to strength. Not coldness, not detachment, but inner stability. The moment you become less reactive, the moment you stop feeling like their attention defines your worth, the energy shifts. Suddenly, the dynamic is no longer you waiting, hoping, and analyzing. It becomes you living, thriving, and leading your own reality. And that is when they start to notice. Most people do not realize how much energy they give away when they overthink someone's interest level. Every time you check your phone wondering if they will text, every time you replay past conversations, every time you hesitate to live fully because you are subconsciously waiting for them, you are feeding an imbalanced energy. And that imbalance is felt. But the moment you stop seeking validation and start redirecting your energy back to yourself, the balance begins to restore itself. Attraction is not about getting someone to want you. It is about becoming the version of yourself that naturally draws people in When you shift your focus from will they come back to am I living in a way that makes me magnetic, everything changes. Because now, instead of making them the source of your fulfillment, you become that source for yourself. This is where Stoicism becomes incredibly powerful. Stoic philosophy teaches that your emotions should not be dictated by external forces, but by your own internal mastery. You cannot control what someone else feels, but you can control whether or not you make them the focus of your emotional world. And ironically, the moment you detach from needing their approval, the moment you stop making their attention the center of your life, they begin to feel your absence. And absence, when combined with growth, is one of the most powerful tools in re-attracting someone. Think about it. When someone assumes they fully have your attention, they stop valuing it. But when they sense distance, when they realize that your energy is no longer orbiting around them, they start feeling the loss. They start questioning what changed. They start feeling curious again, not just about you, but about why their perception of you is shifting. And that curiosity is what rekindles attraction. Not words, not persuasion, but the undeniable shift in energy when someone realizes they might have underestimated you. So how do you actually shift the energy dynamic? First, stop making them your emotional priority. This does not mean cutting them off or playing games. It means truly asking yourself, am I allowing their attention or lack of attention to dictate my mood? If the answer is yes, it is time to redirect that energy inward. Second, become less available. If they are used to you always responding immediately, always being the one to initiate, always being there at a moment's notice, pull back. Let them feel the contrast. Let them experience the difference between having your presence and not having it, because people only value what they feel they could lose. Third, focus on elevating yourself. The easiest way to restore attraction is to become someone they have to chase again. Not because you are playing hard to get, but because you are genuinely becoming too engaged in your own life to be waiting around. This is where self-improvement comes into play. Whether it is through fitness, career growth, learning new skills, or simply developing a richer, fuller life, the moment you level up, the dynamic shifts in your favor. But here's the key. You cannot fake this. If you are only pretending to be busy, if you are only creating distance in the hope that they notice, they will feel the inauthenticity. But if you genuinely commit to becoming someone whose energy is too powerful to be ignored, the shift becomes real. The most attractive people are not those who try to convince others of their worth. They are those who know their worth so deeply that others naturally recognize it. Now ask yourself, am I currently giving away my energy, or am I reclaiming it? Am I waiting for someone to validate me, or am I becoming the person that others naturally gravitate toward? Because the moment you stop reacting and start leading your own energy, the dynamic shifts. And when the dynamic shifts, attraction is no longer something you chase. It is something that naturally builds on its own. If you are ready to step into your power and transform your energy, like this video and comment number 1 below. And if you want to master the principles of Stoicism and attraction on a deeper level, subscribe for more insights that will help you take control of your relationships, your confidence, and your personal growth. Because when you own your energy, you don't just re-attract those who lost interest. You become someone who is impossible to ignore. 7. Be willing to walk away. One of the most powerful and paradoxical truths about attraction is this. The moment you become truly willing to walk away, you become significantly more attractive. Most people, when they sense someone losing interest, go into damage control mode. They try to fix things, they try harder, they negotiate, they settle for less attention, and they convince themselves that if they just prove their worth, things will return to how they used to be. But this approach never works. Not only Does it push the other person further away, but it also weakens your own sense of value? Because every time you cling to someone who does not value you, you subconsciously tell yourself that you are not enough on your own. Walking away does not mean being cold, nor does it mean giving up too soon. It means having the strength to recognize when your presence is no longer being fully appreciated and having the courage to remove yourself without fear. This is where Stoicism plays an essential role. The Stoics believed in focusing on what is within your control and accepting what is not. You cannot control whether someone values you, whether they reciprocate your energy, or whether they choose to stay. But you can control your response to their actions, and the most powerful response to indifference is not chasing, it is self-respect. Most people struggle with this because their fear of loss overrides their logic. They believe that if they pull away, if they stop trying, if they truly detach, they will lose the person forever. But what they fail to realize is that the act of walking away does not mean losing. It means shifting the power dynamic in your favor. When someone knows that you are willing to let them go, they are forced to reconsider their own feelings. They are forced to acknowledge that you are not waiting around. And this realization triggers attraction in a way that no amount of chasing ever could, because people do not fear losing what is always available. They fear losing something that has real value. And value is determined by your ability to remove yourself from situations that no longer serve you. But here's the challenge. Walking away only works when you truly mean it. If you are using it as a manipulation tactic, if you are secretly hoping that your absence will force them to come running back, they will feel the inauthenticity. And when someone senses that your actions are rooted in fear rather than true self-respect, they will not be drawn back. They will be further repelled. This is why walking away must come from a place of genuine self-worth, not from an attempt to create artificial scarcity. It must come from an understanding that your happiness, your peace, and your fulfillment are not dependent on their presence. To truly embrace this mindset, you must first shift your perception of relationships. Instead of seeing them as something to be secured, see them as something to be earned by both parties. If someone has lost interest in you, ask yourself, why am I trying to convince them to stay? Why am I trying to hold on to something that is not naturally flowing? The answer is almost always fear. Fear of being alone, fear of rejection, fear of not finding someone better. But fear is a weak foundation for connection. A relationship that is held together by your unwillingness to lose it is a relationship that is already broken. This is where most people get stuck. They think that by walking away, they are ending things forever. But in reality, what they are doing is creating space. For the dynamic to shift naturally, people need contrast to recognize value. If they are used to you always being there, always trying, always making the effort, they do not feel the absence necessary to appreciate your presence. But when you step back, not in anger, not in resentment, but in quiet confidence, you give them a chance to feel what life is like without you. And this is where clarity happens. If they truly care, if there is still an attraction beneath the surface, this space will allow them to recognize it. They will feel the void left by your absence. They will start to question why they took you for granted, and if their interest was completely gone, then walking away allows you to free yourself from a situation that was never meant to last. Either way, you win, because you are no longer clinging to uncertainty. You are no longer sacrificing your self-respect for temporary validation. Many people think that walking away is about proving a point, but it is not about them. It is about you. It is about reclaiming your energy. It is about refusing to stay in situations that require you to beg for attention. It is about knowing That real attraction, real connection, and real love do not need to be forced. If someone truly values you, they will feel your absence and step forward. And if they don't, then their absence gives you the freedom to find someone who will. This is why walking away is not an act of loss. It is an act of self-liberation. It is the ultimate declaration that you will not chase anyone who does not actively choose you. And when you fully embrace this, you will notice a shift in every aspect of your life. You will stop settling for half-hearted connections. You will stop feeling anxious about someone's level of interest. And most importantly, you will stop seeing relationships as something that determine your worth. Walking away is one of the hardest things you will ever do. But it is also one of the most empowering, because once you do it from a place of strength, once you stop fearing the outcome and start trusting in your own value, something incredible happens. You become magnetic. You stop being the person who is waiting to be chosen and start being the person who chooses. And that is the difference between someone who is constantly chasing and someone who naturally attracts. If you have ever felt like you needed to convince someone to like you, if you have ever felt like your worth was dependent on someone else's attention, then this is your wake-up call. You do not need to prove anything to anyone. The moment you shift from seeking validation to embracing self-worth, the entire dynamic changes. They no longer see you as someone who is waiting. They see you as someone who is thriving without them. And that is when attraction either rekindles or you realize that their absence was never a loss to begin with. Attraction is never truly lost. It is simply misplaced, buried beneath the weight of overthinking, chasing, and seeking validation from someone who has already started to pull away. The key to re-attracting someone is not found in proving your worth or convincing them to care again, but in becoming the person they cannot ignore. By practicing detachment, focusing on personal growth, maintaining high standards, cultivating mystery, rekindling emotions, shifting the energy dynamic, and ultimately being willing to walk away, you do not just increase the chances of drawing them back, you transform yourself into someone who is effortlessly magnetic. But here's the truth. The real victory is not in making someone return. The real victory is in reaching a point where their presence or absence no longer dictates your happiness. This is what makes you truly powerful. When you master your emotions, when you become self-sufficient, when you stop reacting and start leading, you shift from being someone who waits to be chosen to someone who chooses. And that is when the dynamic changes. Because whether they come back or not, whether they realize your value now or too late, you will have already won. You will have reclaimed your power, your confidence, and your sense of self. You will have become someone who no longer chases, but instead naturally attracts. If you are ready to embody this mindset, take control of your own energy and step into your full potential, then it's time to act. Share your thoughts in the comments, subscribe for more insights on Stoicism, attraction, and personal power, and remember, true confidence is not about seeking validation, but about knowing, deep in your core, that you never needed it in the first place.